Hello, welcome back to this June holiday homework explanation. I've just finished the first video on the alternative assessment, which is worth 15% of your total marks in history this year. So do watch that. Okay, and this is a separate homework that is for the ProEd and the iSpark classes under me. Okay, and I just want to explain it a little bit more because some students are struggling with it. Okay, first of all, you're not going to be able to find the information that you need to answer this question in Unit 1 textbook. Okay, in the textbook that's titled Unit 1. Okay, that's the textbook that we've been using the entire year so far. Okay, this is going to come from Unit 2 of the textbook. So I'm just going to type it here. Okay, so Unit 2 textbook. Okay, so if you don't have the textbook yet, okay, please just go ahead to buy one. You can get it from Popular. Okay, alternatively, you can just ask your Sec 3 friends from your CCA if they can sell you their Sec 2 textbook. I'm sure they'll be very happy to do so at a discounted rate. Okay, so for question 1, it's a simple pill paragraph. Okay, you're very familiar with it. Okay, I'm asking you about the reasons, right, for introducing the Malayan Union. Okay, so how do you think about it? All right, if I ask you, like, what are your justifications for making a decision? Maybe a very simple decision, like, not a simple one, but after PSLE, why did you choose to come to Hwa Chong? Okay, so give me 2 reasons. So what would you say? Perhaps some of you will say, oh, I chose to come to Hwa Chong because that was my father's school. Fair enough. Okay, so you can put that down. Okay, I choose to come to Hwa Chong because you can just type it here. Okay, my father came here, right? So my father came to school here. Okay, and then you elaborate on how that actually qualifies as a criteria. Maybe because you want to feel more bonded to your father, or you feel like your father benefited a lot from the school and that you too can benefit from it. Okay, but the way the paragraph is shaped, okay, very much is determined by the initial reason that's given. Okay, so this is basically what you're gonna have to write down in a very concise and succinct way, right? Okay, just say father's school. Okay, likewise, maybe the second reason you'll be like, oh, it's my desire to improve my Chinese language abilities, right? Okay, because Hwa Chong is one of the first SEP schools, so you can elaborate on that. Yeah, in fact, learning a new language has always been a very difficult thing for many people, unless if you are a polyglot by nature. And you can catch on to the grammatical rules of language faster than others. Otherwise, the best way to learn a language is to have the correct environment to learn it in. Okay, so you can explain something like that is very close to your own life, right? Okay, I can tell you exactly why I chose Hwa Chong, right? I've got 4 points. I could have chosen RI, I could have chosen SJI, I could have chosen any other school, but I chose Hwa Chong. Maybe a very simple reason could be I live in Bukit Timah, right? It's just 5 minutes from my home. Okay, so the British introduced the Malayan Union in 1946, and they introduced it for a variety of reasons. Okay, so what are the reasons? Provide the reason and elaborate on them. Okay, I don't think I need further explanation on this because we've already gone through it very recently. Okay, what I want to focus on now is this second question. Okay, this follows the 10-mark question format that we went through briefly in term 2. When I asked you to consider the question, the Perak benefited from British colonialism. How far do you agree with the statement? Explain your answer, right? So this actually forced you to think about it from both angles, right? One of the angles is that, okay, yes, it benefited in certain ways, right? It developed the economy, it stabilized the security, right? It eradicated gang violence. Okay, but then it definitely had some trade-offs. It suffered in other ways. For instance, there was a form of cultural erosion. There's the rise of capitalistic economy that led to the exploitation of workers. Okay, it created a stratified society, so on and so forth, and then we balanced it out in the conclusion. This is something that we have done very recently, right? What is important to note is that when we used the criteria in our conclusion called long-term, short-term, that's only one of many valid criteria that you use in weighing your arguments at the end, right? There are so many other ways that you can weigh an argument. It just needs to be a logic, and there are so many different types of logic, right? So trust your mind to be able to guide you into a logical way of reconciling both sides of the argument, right? Because typically what we want to do is to strengthen your critical thinking abilities to say that I know both sides of the argument, right? But I still made a choice in this regard, right? And why? So the easiest way is to look at something that you are familiar with, right? Like for example, when I feel very intimidated by something I don't know, I try to think about it as a similar question type, but something that I already do know, like why did you choose to come to Hwa Chong versus maybe going to RI, right? You know the benefits of Hwa Chong and you know the benefits of RI. So there has to be a determining factor, a criteria that was that defined for you, okay, because when I weighed it based on this criteria, in the end, I still felt like it's better to go to Hwa Chong. And for some of you, one of the reasons could be, oh, my brother goes here. So in the morning, it's easier for my parents to fetch both of us. Something like that. It's like, okay, so in terms of the criteria, what do we call that? Convenience, right? Okay, so on the basis of convenience, we still made a decision to pick Hwa Chong. Okay, likewise, for this question, the given statement, or basically the absolute statement, is the most important reason for the failure of the emergency was the effectiveness of British policies to defeat it. Okay, so the reason to agree would be, okay, you need to explain. I'm not giving you the answer. You need to read the textbook. Okay, why can, okay, so over here you need to state one reason why British policies were effective. Okay, so I'm not giving you the answer. You don't copy this down. This is just giving you a hint. Like I say, oh, state one reason why McDonald's is delicious, right? So I can say, oh, it's because of the, you know, wonderful taste of their patties, right? That's the reason, okay? And then, why would you disagree? Okay, you will only disagree if there is something else other than the effectiveness of British policies, right? So this was something that some of you have emailed me over the weekend and asked me, what other things led to the failure of the emergency? Okay, this is something that you need to read the textbook to find out. Okay, so there are various stakeholders. One of them is the British. Can we talk about the participation of the locals? Okay, so what is the role of the locals in defeating the emergency? Okay, oh no, in the failure of the emergency, right? So just state the reason here. And then elaborate. And then in the conclusion, okay, as I said, provide a valid criteria where you weigh the key factors. Okay, what's the contribution made by the British and what's the contribution made by the locals? Okay, and how both of them actually contributed to this outcome, which is the failure of the emergency. Okay, at this point, maybe you guys are like saying, what is this emergency that Miss Tong is talking about? Okay, so just to demystify it a little bit. Okay, if you type Malayan emergency, okay, you encounter many videos you can watch on YouTube, but okay, it was actually a guerrilla war. The period where there was a guerrilla war fought in Malaya between communist pro-independence fighters, okay, of the Malayan National Liberation Army and the military force of the Federation of Malaya and the Commonwealth. Okay, so it began in 1948 and ended in 1960. It's very interesting how it ended though. Okay, so do read up a little bit more. And after this, you'll actually also find out a lot more about a very important historical figure called Tengku Abdul Rahman. And why he was so well regarded by essentially the British lah. Let me see whether I can find it. Okay. Yeah. So you can see over here, right? So Tengku Abdul Rahman was a key personnel in the negotiations, right? And whether or not he did a good role or not, I'm not going to let you know. Whether he performed the role successfully or not, you just have to find out on your own now. Okay, so one more time I say I show you, like, because the weather in Malaya is just simply sweltering, like you can testify to it right now. Like right now the weather is like sweltering, right? So if like historical accuracy might dictate that some of the pictures that you create for the alternative assessment will be like topless or whatever, but please just refrain from doing that for decency reasons. The second time I'm telling you about this, okay? It's quite peculiar, but that's actually something that one of my colleagues said, yeah, hey, you know, last year there was someone who actually did it, you know? Yeah, just like stood topless and let his friend take a picture of him. I think I don't know. I mean, it really depends on the context, but right, like for example, some of you are from water polo, then you take a picture of your friends in the swimming pool topless. Maybe that is something that is unavoidable, right? Because you are in the midst of a competition. Those are the competition pictures, but this is a historical assignment, so I think you don't actually need to, so please avoid it. Yeah, so that's the assignment for you. This is an assignment that has twofold benefits. The first fold is to strengthen your essay writing skills and your logical thinking abilities. The second is to strengthen your context and your content knowledge with regards to the decolonization process. Yeah, which is what we'll be studying in semester 2 lah. All right, so if you haven't gotten a textbook, that's your very first quest. Okay, find the textbook first, then you can work on both the AA and the holiday assignment, and both are due in term 3 week 1. I wish you all the best, and if you still don't understand after this explanation, feel free to leave a comment on this YouTube video or just send me a Google chat, and I will try my best to explain it to you even better. Have a good holiday.